Thank you so much, Liz. It's such a pleasure to meet you all. Um, I'm just gonna share my screen here so I can start my introduction and just please confirm when you can see my screen. Is it in full screen? Perfect. Thank you, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be with you all today. My name is Natalia Green. I am from Quito, Ecuador, based here in the mountains. I have been working with the rights of nature for the past 20 years. It's been a real amazing journey, and I'm really happy to be sharing that today with you all. I am the global director for the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature, and I'm also the secretariat for the International Rights of Nature. And as I mentioned, I was very lucky to be part of the constitutional process in Ecuador in 2008 that became the first country in the world to recognize the rights of nature. So I've been very lucky to be involved with this movement for a very long time. And I'm very happy to be sharing this with you all today, especially about what are the rights of nature and how has this movement been expanding around the world. So happy to see some familiar faces here, and gonna go ahead and start. First, I would love to start by sharing this quote. I found this quote, and I think that it really shares a little bit of what we are trying to do with this system, because it says, "When a system is far from equilibrium, small islands of coherence in a sea of chaos have the capacity to shift the entire system." This is a quote from Ilya Prigogine, and I feel it's an amazing quote because it's allowing us to see that those small islands of coherence that we are building all over the world have, in effect, the ability to transform a system that we know that is far from equilibrium, that is a system that is going through a poly crisis, an environmental crisis, but it's not only a climate crisis or a biodiversity crisis, it's an ethical crisis in many ways, it's a social crisis, and it's a value crisis. And I think that what we are trying to do with the rights of nature movement, but I feel that what you are all trying to do, and the reason why we've all won this amazing Goldman Prize, is because you are also trying to bring these islands of coherence in a sea of chaos. So, what are the rights of nature? When we were thinking about the rights of nature a long time ago, we understood and we know that environmental law has been around, but environmental law is not enough, which doesn't mean that environmental law is bad. It just means that it's not enough. It has not allowed us to really change a system, change a paradigm, because environmental law is meant to work on behalf of humans. It's become is the reason why we have environmental law is because we want to have a system where we can make sure that we have a healthy ecosystem for humans, where a river can flow and it can allow us as humans to have water, for example. But it's not necessarily taking into account what are the needs of nature per se. And for that, we definitely need to change this paradigm, in essence, to understand that nature is a living entity, that nature is alive, that is a rights-bearing entity, and that we need to completely change the way that we relate to nature. In Andean countries like mine, in Ecuador, I think that indigenous cosmology has put a beautiful name to it, that is the word of Pachamama, Mother Earth. And that is and living under the understanding that nature is our mother, that she's alive, and that we are part of her. In many indigenous worldviews around the world, this has been the common sense, the sense that we are part of nature and there's no division. Unfortunately, especially Western society has made that division, where nature has been viewed as a resource and not as a source of life. Nature has been viewed as an object, and what we are trying to do with the rights of nature movement is change that perception of property over nature to understanding that we are part of nature and that nature has rights by itself, by herself. So this movement that, as I was sharing, was really gained momentum with the Ecuadorian Constitution in 2008, um, was really an idea that when we came together for the first time, we were talking and saying, this is a moment, we used Victor Hugo's quote and said, this is a movement whose time has come. There's nothing more powerful as an idea whose time has come. But 2008 was very early. We were actually meeting in this room, as you can see here. This was 2018, where actually we met with most of the people that were working with the Rights of Nature movement, and we were able to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the Ecuadorian Constitution in one single room. Nowadays, it will be impossible to bring everybody together since the movement has been expanding so much. And what is this movement? It's a powerful global movement that wants to transform human consciousness and redesign these failing consumptive economic and social structures to create a framework for living in harmony with nature that is grounded, as I was saying, in the recognition of the rights of Mother Earth. This is a movement, as I was sharing, we were able to pass in 2008 a constitution that finally recognized that nature is a subject of rights. Article 71 to 74 in our constitution says that nature, Pachamama, where life is and is reproduced, has the right to exist, has the right to reproduce, has the right to maintain its natural cycles. And this is amazing because it's the first time in the world, whereas it's absurd for some people that it's so late that we're doing this, that a country is saying that nature has the right to exist. Why? Because nature all over the world has only been viewed, especially by legal systems, as an object, as a resource for humans to take advantage of, but not necessarily for its own rights. What we were able to pass in the Ecuadorian Constitution was this new model of development, a new model of development that was based in well-being, or buen vivir, or suma causa in Quechua, that is pretty much based in the understanding that we have to change this model of development by understanding that there is something like the plurinationality, the understanding that there are many nationalities living within one territory, and also by understanding that nature is a rights-bearing entity. As in 2010, Evo Morales in Bolivia called for this World People's Conference on Climate Change and the Rights of Mother Earth. And 33,000 people were able to meet and gather in Cochabamba, Bolivia, and prepare the declaration, the Universal Declaration for the Rights of Mother Earth. Later that year, we were able to create the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature. That is the organization that I proudly direct at this moment, and that we are actually having our 15-year anniversary this year. And I want to show you this map so you can see how this movement is pretty much painting the world. I love to have this shown to you because for me, as I mentioned with Ilia Peronini's quote, it's a way of building these islands of coherence in a sea of chaos. If you see, this whole world map starts getting colored in many ways, colored in ways where a country like Ecuador passes a new constitution. We're waiting to see, hopefully this year, Aruba will become the second country in the world to recognize the rights of nature in its constitution. We have countries like Panama or Bolivia that have national laws for the rights of nature. And we have many countries that have local ordinances and proposals. Actually, 40 countries in total have advanced the rights of nature. 22 of them with legal advances, and 18 of them with projects that we're hoping that will see the light and will become legal advances at some point. I have shared here, and Liz was telling me that it will be good to give you some resources. At the end, you'll have quite a few links, but I'm happy, Liz, if you can share the PDF with all the participants, and you'll see here that all these PDFs have a very useful links. This, for example, is one of the links of a very a complete article about the growing of the rights of nature movement, and you can see here how is it growing and by which type and everything. This is an academic map that is very powerful and that will allow you to have many lights of how this movement is growing. We also have the Eco Jurisprudence Monitor, and you see the website is right here, ecojurisprudence.org. Where you can see both in a political map and in a geographical map, the different initiatives that are being launched around the world. This is a very useful map because it allows you to go and see and look into the documents of all the jurisprudence that is being developed all over the world about the rights of nature. What we are doing in the movement building side with the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature is pretty much just establishing spaces where we can get organized in order to to see how we can get together and move this movement even farther. We have the big umbrella of the Global Alliance for the Rights of Nature and the International Rights of Nature Tribunal. We are very proud to have an Indigenous Council that is part of our governance. The Indigenous Council, led by Casey Camp Hornick, are our wisdom keepers. And we are organized with a series of thematic and regional hubs. Regional hubs in Europe, Africa, Latin America, North America, and Asia Pacific, and thematic hubs with a youth hub, a legal hub, and an academic hub. This is the way where we can get organized in different languages, where we can get organized in different regions and with different topics, because what we're aiming is to have this movement grow as much as possible. We have also done the International Rights of Nature Tribunals that are this space, this platform where we bring cases where there is a confrontation against the guardians of the earth, but also where there are sacrifice zones of people and nature, and we can see how this model follows a pattern all over the world. How we see that what happens in the Philippines is what happens in South America with mining, for example, and what happens in the north as well, and how these patterns of consumption and exploitation of nature is repeating itself in the sense that we need a platform where we can listen to the voice of the defenders of nature, but where we can listen to the voice of the guardians of nature and nature itself. So this is a platform that we have been using since 2014, giving us amazing results that have been used as model jurisprudence for cases all over the world. Cases that have been used by court cases in Brazil, in Bolivia, as model jurisprudence for their own cases to advance the rights of nature. We have done it in many places in the world, in Quito, in the different COPs, in Lima, in Paris, in Bonn, in Santiago. We've done regional tribunals, but we have also done visits. So we have done visits to Brazil to confront what's happening in Tren Maya in Mexico, to what's happening with the extension and amplification of fracking in Vaca Muerta, Argentina, and see how this, as I was saying, keeps repeating when you consider, and governments consider, and corporations consider, that nature is an object that needs to be exploited. And of course, the people who live in that territory have also been able to, and unfortunately, suffer the threats of this ambition to keep exploiting the earth. This is a very important year, and as I was mentioning, I'll keep putting during the presentation many links so you can access to this information. But this year, we're doing a really big call to declare the rights of the Amazon. The Amazon, as we know, is a really huge and important biome that maintains pretty much maintains the stability of the planet. And this year, we're having a COP happening in Brazil, understanding that that the Amazon is reaching a tipping point is really important for us to understand that we need to give a voice to the Amazon. And as we give a voice to this important ecosystem that for me is this huge warrior fighting for climate change, we also need to give a voice to Antarctica. We have a working group where Garn is part of, that is working to bring together scientists and people from all over the world to give a voice to Antarctica and see how we can declare the rights of Antarctica. This is, for me, contrary to the Amazon, a silent victim of climate change. That is also a key biome to keeping the stability of the climate of the weather in the planet, and that also needs to have its own voice, especially due to its beautiful and unique governance, and understand that these biomes need to be heard by themselves, by its being its own entity of rights, to understand what is best for them, and like that go back to a balance that we've lost in international governance. I would like to take a moment to share that this huge movement of the rights of nature is really focused and has a lot of the victories based on the rights of rivers. If you see here quite a few rivers that have been declared as rights bearers. These rivers, giving rights to rivers has been a really beautiful and powerful tool to empower people to really get organized towards the recognition and the passing of legislation to recognize the rights of the river that goes to their city, through their town, rivers that are very pristine, or water bodies like the Machanga River in my city, or Mar Menor, the reason why Teresa Vicente won this beautiful Goldman Prize, territories and water bodies that have been threatened and that have been facing ecocides like the death of all their fish or the pollution of all their waters. And that is why, with the empowerment of the people around them, all these rivers have been able to be granted rights. 44 of them right now around the world. The most well-known, maybe now Marañón with Mariluz Cañaquiri, the Wanganui River in New Zealand, the first one, Vilcabamba in Ecuador, and a really beautiful case, for example, with the in Colombia with the Atrato River. As you know, Mariluz won the Golden Prize this year. Mariluz is a woman with whom we've been working, a really beautiful and amazing leader of the Kukama women. The Kukaman women participating in the FOSPA, where we were presenting this idea of the Declaration of the Rights of the Amazon. And we are hoping that as much as Mariluz, for example, was able with the Kukama River with the Kukama woman to bring the Marañón River to court and bring rights to the river and pass the first case in Peru, then we can also keep working with many more people around the Amazon to really protect this important biome. And I feel that the strength of this woman and the strength that you all have in your different territories, if you're able to incorporate as well the force of nature when not granting it by recognizing the inherent rights of nature, then this completely strengthens and complements the fight for those people, for all of us to have a better ecosystem, a healthy ecosystem, and of course a nature that is a subject of rights. As I was mentioning with the Machangara River, that is the river that crosses my city, we were able to pass a historical case, a historical ruling on last year on August 21st, 2024, where the municipality was held responsible and accountable for the damage of this river. And we have been negotiating 26 reparative measures with the guardians of the river to be able to restore this river that is thought to be completely dead. I would like to share some other success stories before we can get a chance to talk, to hopefully inspire you, because I feel that the Rights of Nature movement gives us stories that give us hope. I think that what we are missing right now in the world is an idea of what can give us hope. We see every day we have bad news and sometimes we lose that hope. But when you see, for example, this spider monkey in Los Cedros, that was a protected forest, that in spite of having banned agriculture and logging, mining was a territory, the Constitutional Court picked up this case that we presented with Los Cedros and elaborated a verdict in order to give rights to Los Cedros protected forest, to saying that all activities that could affect the Los Cedros protected forest, including mining and any other extractive industry activity, must be banned. And with that, all of these species, the endangered frogs, the spectacled bears, the spider monkey, and all the birds and nature as a whole in this unprecedented battle won at the Constitutional Court and is a subject of rights. Another case that I love is this case of Intac versus the frogs. These two frogs were rediscovered in a couple of waterfalls that are called the twin waterfalls. One of them was already polluted by a mining company, and the other one was completely clean. First of all, the experts found this frog, the Rana arlequino secuda. They found her and they were very excited because it was a frog that was considered extinct. So she was rediscovered in this waterfall. And while doing the study of this frog, they discovered a new species, the Rana nodriza confusa. This frog that is called the resistance frog was renamed as a resistance frog. We were able to take these two frogs to court because they were not considered in the environmental impact study. And the good news is that this little frog that is right here that you can see won a case and won against the second largest copper mining company in the world. So I love this story because this story is a story that gives us hope. If this little frog right here is able to win against such a big mining company, then we can see that the rights of nature tool, that the rights of nature concept is not only a beautiful concept that makes sense because we are part of nature. We cannot deny that we are nature, but it is also a powerful tool that can allow us to start changing a system that is completely disbalanced with nature because we have separated ourselves from nature. It has allowed us to win cases with also with animal rights, with the Estrellita case that allowed us to amplify it not only for ecosystems but for its individual animal species. It has allowed us to, for example, win these gas flaring cases that are these gas flares that are burning all the time in our Amazon. So we have also been able to win a case against the gas flaring in Ecuador. But also we have been able to win for Yasuni in order to keep the oil underground in the Yasuni National Park, with 59% of the population of the whole country of Ecuador voting in favor of life instead of resources and deciding for life, and 69% of the population of my city, Quito, banning mining from the whole city. Not only, of course, you can imagine not only the city, the whole urban area of the city was very threatened by mining. This allows us to think that passing laws does not only allow us to have a powerful tool, but it changes our relationship with nature. It changes how we imagine ourselves with nature and allows us to bring these amazing projects and activities. So with that, I would like to just close by saying that there is an urgent need to recognize the rights of nature and to reshape our relationship with the planet. This is for me a call to keep building these acupuncture points in the map, as you saw, these islands of coherence in a sea of chaos, these places where we are finally recognizing the inherent rights of nature, because nature has always had rights, but it is our role to keep promoting governments and organizations to recognize that nature is alive. And with this, you can have resources like our Garn website. If you go to garn.org, you'll find a whole section of resources. Right now, when I started this work back in 2008, I think that I found 2 or 3 articles that talked about the rights of nature. Find more than 18,000 articles written about the rights of nature. So if you want to, if it can be quite overwhelming. And what we have done in the resource page in Garn is select the most meaningful ones, so you can get involved with these and learn. Of course, you can also use Garn as a resource and get involved with one of our hubs and see how we can get involved, so you can use the rights of nature tool and concept to strengthen the work that you're doing in your own territories. If you liked the idea of the rights of nature tribunals, and that allows us to really see what is happening to nature and to the people, you can find here the website for the rights of nature tribunal. And this last page is a page in Spanish, only for not only for Ecuador, but it's a page that puts together all the 70 cases that we have in Ecuador for successful stories of the rights of nature. So this will allow you to have lots of resources to keep understanding and researching about all these initiatives. But as Garn, we would love to be able to support you all in the idea of how do we bring these rights of nature into your own territories? How do we strengthen your own work? How do we strengthen your own struggle to recognize the rights of your own people in order to complement this with the rights of nature that I bet is suffering the same threats that the people are suffering? So I encourage you to learn more about the rights of nature, to keep sharing this beautiful message, and to give us some courage that we can do something about this big crisis that we're living, and we can do something when we go out and we fight what we feel it's just, and giving and pushing towards the recognition of these inherent rights of nature. I think it's something that it's not only urgent and needed, but it's something natural that can happen and will happen in this moment of chaos. So thank you so much, Liz, for this time. And I would love to share with all you beautiful, amazing people, how can you feel that this new paradigm of the rights of nature is working, can work in your own territories, and can strengthen the work that you're already doing.
Thank you so much, Nati. I think I will stop the recording for the discussion, so everyone can feel free to ask any questions. One moment.